Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the GOAT himself has blessed us with a video of my main. And it is my responsibility to tell you, is it good? Is it bad? Did he miss? Did he hit? And boys, do I have good news for you. It was pretty good. Actually went pretty hard. But with that being said, I do think there are some things I can add to this. From cards to builds to counters. If it's Vora related, I've got you covered. So here's some tips and tricks that were not in the video. So believe it or not, Vora can actually tendril people, and she can go straight through them, kind of like 7 can. Now, does this serve any purpose? Not really, but it is something you can do. The next thing is the best ability in the entire kit, your Obliteration. It grants you complete CC immunity and damage immunity for a brief moment. While it may seem useless at first, with a little bit of timing, it's easily the best thing in her entire kit. It allows you to dodge things like Con Grab, Yag's Hunger, Zen's Cringe, Seven's Fear, and if you time it properly, almost anything can be countered. However, if you watch this video, you would know that he's already said this already, but I don't think it was emphasized how much it actually counters. And I mean, it literally counters every ult in the entire game that either does damage or inflicts some kind of CC, like stuns or cripples, slows, fears, DOTs, everything. Even blindness from Maeve's ult. All of it is completely countered by this one ability. But if you miss it, well, you're gonna end up like this.
Oh, hi. Oh my god, dude, that was so perfect. No, what? No way.
Ah, poor guy. If only he had an obliteration to dodge it. Alright, so emphasis on obliteration out of the way, right? Obviously it's good. But there are some weird interactions with the ult that are actually worth noting, and I'll show you some here. So before I cover the clips, let's go over the wording of the ult real quick. The most important part is enemies above 66% maximum HP take 1100 damage, but when they're below the 66%, they're executed. This is extremely important as there are some weird interactions where this will apply and this won't apply. Your eyes do not deceive you. What you saw is 100% how it works, and it's because of the wording. It's maximum HP, and shields don't contribute to that. Meaning, if they have the shield and you have your ult, it's virtually meaningless. You can go straight through it like a hot knife through butter. And it's not just Torvald either. Ruckus has the same fate. So what about a character that increases his max HP? Very rapidly at that. And by character, I mean Rom. See, while it does work against personal shields, Rom's a little special. His soul armor does actually somewhat count towards his max HP. In its own way, it refills his HP before his actual soul armor. So if he has any soul armor at any point, your ult is completely ineffective. And there you have it. Soul armor is, well, a little bit of an issue for the ult. But there's another champion who, well, kind of does the same thing. And that's Lilith. Because believe it or not, Lilith's bled HP is completely separate from her max HP. So Vora's ult literally doesn't work on Lilith at all, unless her max HP is taken down. So yeah, the ult does have some weird little interactions with, certain champions.
But if you know what you're doing, you can make use of this and not waste an ult or capitalize on an easy pick. With that being said, though, outside of her abilities, the most important thing is cards, and Andrew's video has some pretty good takes on this, and I think it's worth looking over the video and giving my opinions on it. Alright, so here we are at the video, right? Now, I want to cover this in one take, because this takes a lot of time, and there's a lot of opinions on this, and I want to go one by one through this specifically, because if I do it individually, it won't sound right.
Vora,
Let's get straight into it, right?
Cards that you should avoid.
First thing, talking about cards to avoid.
Pulse Idol is by far the
Yes, absolutely. This card sucks. You literally never use this card. Worst part is, it's on a 15-second cooldown, meaning every 15 seconds, you get 2 seconds, 2 whole seconds of bonus speed and lifesteal. And in 2 seconds, Vora doesn't do that much damage. The lifesteal is useless, and the movement speed, while it may get you around a corner, obliteration can do that with an iframe. This card sucks. There's literally no reason to use it.
Vora's entire deck. Otherworldly Tether is another card you should
Overworldly
avoid
Tether,
using
right?
Because it's
He says it's not good, right? And this is totally fair. This is a completely fair criticism. This card is not good by itself. But if it is paired with another card, such as the DR and Tendril, this can actually be really good. This card is very situational, and if someone does buy Wrecker for this card, honestly, it's kind of their own fault. They deserve it. It's wasted credits. You really don't get any benefit out of this kind of thing.
objectively worse than what may come. It provides
So,
less effective
What may come,
hit points.
he's not saying it's a bad card, right? What may come is probably one of the best cards in her entire kit.
And comes with a lengthy internal cooldown. If the enemies have Wrecker, seem good.
So let's see. Unified in Purpose, right? I skipped forward just a little. Unified in Purpose is a good +3 filler. It is not a +5. There's no reason you should put +5 in this card. It is just a decent filler. With that being said, it's good for being tanky. It's a free 10%, and I personally run this at +3. I'll cover my own builds in just a moment. But in terms of worst cards, not really. This has very good uses, but anything lower than a 3 or higher than a 3, it doesn't get much value. Your best bet is putting it as the +3 in your deck.
The health card.
So, HP card, right? He's talking about it in a good light, saying that, like, you don't need Unified Purpose. You can use New Purpose. This is 100% facts. New Purpose is probably the best card in her entire deck. The best card. No matter what the other ones do, the base HP increase is amazing for Vora.
enough to be
So,
both
and he skips these. Deadly Dance, Ruthless Elegance. Yeah, these are gimmicks. You don't need these. Running them at +1 or anything higher than that is a joke. You're never going to be really hitting people with Deadly Dance. And even with that Elegance, the knockback is so small, you really don't get a benefit.
running over other only be useful and should be picked. This build is
So,
focused on
He's going to his builds, right? Cooldown HP. Dance with Fate, Change of Faith, Sharpen Resolve, New Purpose, Crimson Ascent. These are all decent cards, right? My issue with this, right, is this only works for double Tendril. This doesn't work for solo Tendril. Mainly because you are speccing a lot of your DR into cooldowns. And the cooldowns are already so high on Vora, being like +10 in Tendril, 6 on Siphon, which is really low, but +10 on your Obliteration. The cooldown is not low enough to give you a second Tendril during the fight. So if you run first talent with this deck, you could theoretically get a second one if you stall your dive. But by doing that, you engage into the dive with nothing to help you but your own HP. No DR, no anything, just depending on your buys. There are better ways to make a dive deck, but for a cooldown deck, I guess if you want to be really quick and get in and out, this can work. The main issue, though, is mainly Vora's playstyle is you're going to be diving in and out of backline, and you're not doing this on cooldown. So with this deck, you're essentially resetting the cooldown, but what you're actually going for is the use of only one tendril to get in and potentially one tendril out. Now, this deck can speed that up, but if you're going for a surefire kill, you won't need the second tendril. That's kind of what the dive is for. So
We have
the next
sharpened
build
resolve.
is a sustained build with HP. This is great, but not for Siege. The main game mode is Siege. This is not good for Siege. The main reason is Cauterize. This gets toned down so much because of Cauterize. And while it is amazing in like TDM or something, once Cauterize kicks in, Broken Path and Sharpened Resolve have no value anymore. You're going from 40 HP per stack to a bonus of 4 HP per stack. A bonus 200 HP from Siphon to a bonus 20 HP from Siphon. And honestly, it's just not worth running these cards.
And a bird for 12. It's also a great build that drops a broken path.
So next build, Sustain Speed. This is also relatively a gimmick. Vora plays around corners, and if you play corners, like I say, my golden rule is never engage in a fight out in the open. Always have a corner to hide behind. 40% of your screen should be a corner you can get behind and hide and evade damage while you're poking and waiting for a chance to engage. This build, while good for that, you don't really need the movement speed to play around corners. The movement speed is kind of just quality of life. And at that point, it doesn't really play into her actual play style, which is diving in for surefire kills and then going back to poke over and over and over and over and over. You know, the bonus movement speed doesn't benefit that process because the aspect of diving is mainly through tendril. Right, so after reviewing Andrew's cards and his builds, honestly, I would have to rate it a solid 8, 9 out of 10. He hit all the nails on the head and he was right on the cusp of greatness. I do have a few different ones that I want to show. There are a little bit of modifications to the ones he had. And I think, in my opinion, these benefit the player more and you're able to get more value out of these. So first off, the cards to avoid these 5. False Idol, Ruthless Elegance, Inevitability, Deadly Dance, Broken Promises. These suck. Don't use these. Basically, anything other than these is pretty viable, right? All these do give benefits that can be used, some better than others, but these are not viable. Don't use them. So, onto the builds though. The first one is a sustain build. This is what I run if I don't have a support that I can trust. And it's 4 in Sharpen, 4 in Broken, 4 in Purpose. These are very important. This turns your healing up to 9. Now, is this effective in late game? Absolutely not. But it is better than nothing. If you know your support cannot be trusted, this is where you need to be. This will help you so much in the long run, and your buys can really amp this up with things like Chronos and Haven. +2 in Maw's Embrace is also just quality of life. This filler is not insanely important, and if you'd like, Dance with Fate can be replaced with Crimson Ascent. It is purely your own choice what you want for your fillers. Now, for the cooldown spam, this is what I recommend for double tendril. Very important, okay? Elegant Pairing is an amazing card. It's such a good card, especially with double tendril. You get the 4 seconds off of your abilities. Siphon's only a 6-second cooldown. It cycles really well with a Change of Faith, okay? Now, if you're running double tendril, this will do numbers for you, but it's not her best playstyle as it's kind of risky because this +4 is kind of the only real defense you have once you get into the fight. These help you engage the fight. This helps you stay in the fight. So fillers, exact same. Dance with Fate is swappable with Crimson Ascent. It's purely, your own choice. I do like having Maw's Embrace as a filler. I like Crimson Ascent as a filler. I like Sharpen Resolve as a filler, Broken Path as a filler. All these are good fillers, genuinely. So on to my main build. 99.9% of the time, I run this. And I've been running this same build, although tweaked maybe like 1 or 2 points, for almost a year now, and it has never failed me. Max HP, max or +4 in What May Come, +3 in Unified, 2 in Maw, 1 in Ascent. And I know what you're thinking. There's no cooldown. There's nothing. This is pure tank. This is tanky Vora. Because if there's one thing that she does better than basically every other flank, it is survive. She's not a cockroach like Zen, but she's close. And it's important that when you engage in the fight, because of your low DPS, you need to be able to have some advantage over the other person. Whether it's DPS, like for some flanks, like Talus, who's kind of glassy, does a lot of damage. Same with Seven. Zen, who can win his 1v1s because he's a cockroach. He doesn't take damage. Vora kind of plays in that same niche that Zen does, where tons of DR, tons of HP, you dive the back line, and you feed for your kill if you need it. That point, you need to survive in the back line as long as possible for your damage to amp up, because it's not that high compared to others. So it's best to be tanky, because that's the best way to bring out her full potential and actually establish her DPS on a target without crumbling. Now, the next build, speed build, like I said, it's a gimmick. But it's a good one. And in terms of his build, Andrew's build, it's good. I give it a 7, 8 out of 10. You know, I think it can work in most scenarios. But I do think it can be improved. And I think it can be improved by running A, double Tendril, and B, Maw's Embrace Change of Faith. Now, the cooldown on Tendril is amazingly good, so slept on. Maw's Embrace +5, obviously for the movement speed, and Unified in purpose. Now, he said Unified was a card to avoid. I highly disagree. The 3 seconds is virtually the entire encounter for a 1v1, if you hit your shots, obviously. And with that 10% is basically Haven 1. It's just a bonus Haven 1 into the fight, and that can make a world of difference. Change of Faith, 6-second cooldown compared to Tendril's cooldown. You'll get about 2 siphons per 1 Tendril. So if you hit both your siphons on cooldown, you're getting a 6-second decrease on your Tendril. Or your next Tendril, rather. And it works. It really does. And if you miss, Crimson Ascent can help you knock it down to a 5-second. And New Purpose just for the little bit of extra HP to help. And honestly, I've used all of these. I will personally vouch for all of them. They work amazingly for the niche you're looking for. I think Andrew's builds are good, but I don't think they draw out the potential that Vora has. But if I'm talking maximum 10 out of 10 build, it will succeed. This is what I recommend. It is very difficult to get used to, but once you get the hang of it, the extra tankiness will carry you through basically everything. So what about talents, right? Talents are also super important, and they honestly change how the entire character plays. First things first, it's already well known, Unyielding Pressure is her best talent. Is it the most popular? I think so. I hadn't checked the numbers on it, but I'd like to think so. Relentless Presence, the definite second pick. It's fantastic. Gives her the mobility she needs. Very good. Deafening Silence, you don't use this. If you use this, you're memeing. There's no reason to run this. It sucks. It's bad. So, Unyielding Pressure and Relentless, right? The recommendation I can give is it's really up to your playstyle. If you are more interested in flying around and throwing shots at people from above, like an AC 130, you kind of want to play like 7 at that point. Relentless Presence is your pick, and it's still good, and it does work, and it gets you in backline really quick and gets you out of backline really quick. But what you're lacking is damage. And if when you reach higher elo, you stop going from single tank to double tank. And as a flanker, you're going to have to fight an off tank. Off tanks like Khan, Azan, Fernando, God forbid, Ruckus, all these guys. And Vora doesn't have the damage to even contest an off tank. She really doesn't. She lacks really, really hard in that damage department. But that can be fixed with unyielding pressure. With the 10% of target's maximum health over 1.5 seconds, she effectively gets Sky's poison bolts, but it's easier to hit, it's single shot, and it's a very large projectile with great distance. Now, it's a 6-second cooldown. Like, there's no reason not to. It's free damage. And it's not just like a free little bit of damage. It's a lot of damage. It's percent based. So if you're fighting like a Khan with 3,600 HP, that's an extra 360 damage on top of Siphon's 200 plus 400. So that's 600 plus the 360. That's 900 damage. That's almost 1,000 damage straight to his HP. That's insane. That's a ton of damage, and it's so overlooked. Unyielding pressure is easily her best talent. The damage it gives you allows you to contest off tanks. And that is the main reason it's so good, is because it allows you to engage these 4,000 HP behemoths who are looking straight at you. And now you have a way to defend yourself and either pressure them off or actually get them low enough to ult or even kill. And honestly, none of the other talents can do that. Pressure is the only talent that makes it so that you can actually contest a lane with an off tank. All right, so we're nearing the end of the video, and there is one bit of advice that if I could give you out of all my time playing Vora, it's know who you can fight and who you can't fight. There's a lot of champions that you do great against, and there's some you don't. So here's a couple that you don't do good against. From left to right, these are probably the most difficult champs for you to like actually deal with in a match in a relatively high elo. Obviously this changes depending on the elo, but played at a fairly medium to high, those will be probably your biggest challenges. Now at the end we reached the conclusion. A lot was discussed, a lot wasn't. There's still a lot to this character, and honestly there's a lot to learn, a lot to improve on. Don't take my word as facts, just take it as my opinion. The video made was fantastic, and this is just my 2 cents on it. Again, make your own opinions, take whatever I say with a grain of salt, and honestly just enjoy the character.
I think the girls with their nails done now.